Welcome to On Deck with Anchor. Today we'll be talking about fintechs in Africa. I'm joined here with my CEO, Segun. Hi, Segun.
Hi, Esther.
All right, so there's been a significant growth in the fintech space, even the tech space generally in Africa, but we're focusing on fintech.
Sure.
So according to Frost and Civilian, Nigerian fintech revenue grew from 153.1 million in 2017 to over $500 million in 2022. Like that's huge. So what are some of the key drivers of fintech growth in the continent over the past few years? And you can also project like what do you see becoming like some of the trend in the coming years?
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Okay.
The good place to start would be to think about the opportunity. So, as over the last few years, there's been, like you rightly said, significant growth. But if you look at it within the bigger, broader context, it is still very little. The revenue of about 500 and something million is a fraction of the over $9 billion in financial revenue. So there's still
a lot that can be done.
But in terms of the opportunity as well, if you look at it from the impact standpoint, according to NIBS, the BVN number is about 50 million.
Okay.
In a population of about 205 million, depending on who you ask, that is still 1/4. So let's even assume the adult population is, say, 120, 150 million.
That's
the BVN number is still very low, which speaks to the level of financial inclusion as well. So there is still a mass market to be served. And when stakeholders, investors, entrepreneurs, when we see this opportunity, we know that there's an opportunity for everyone to play. So if you go outside Lagos, in many places in Nigeria, a lot of people still don't have access. So there's that first part. People see that and they want to try to solve for that. There's also the second layer of the deliberate effort of the regulators. So the CBN, the Ministry of Finance, the Presidency, over the last few years, they've been putting initiatives. So there's a national financial inclusion strategy to bank about 80% of the population over the next few years. Initially, the goal was for 2020, but now, because we didn't achieve the objective for 2020, it has now been moved to 2030.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of initiatives and a lot of encouragement of fintechs by the regulation.
Are these initiatives significantly moving the needle?
Yes, because if they weren't, a lot of what is even possible today wouldn't have been possible. The flexibility around fintechs being able to leverage on existing licenses, for example, a lot of fintechs ride on microfinance bank licenses. It's only possible because the regulators allow that.
Okay.
So those are the deliberate efforts of the regulators, and them acknowledging the fact that they can't do it alone and they need the fintechs means that they have been more open and receptive to the fintechs.
Okay.
So that's another thing. Another thing that is driving it is obviously our young population.
Okay.
The young population in Nigeria and in Africa at large means that by default, a lot of this young population are digitally savvy. And the cost of smartphones have been dropping over the last few years. One of the few things also that has been dropping in Nigeria is the cost of data. So there's more access to data, there's more access to smartphones because of the Chinese brands.
So we have more people online.
So there are more people online who can now access financial services through their digital phones. And these areas are where fintechs are best suited to serve.
Okay.
They have a competitive advantage because a lot of the founders of the fintech companies like myself, we grew up in the digital world. So we're better able to serve this younger generation than the traditional financial institutions.
Okay.
And those are some of the reasons. So all of these factors has created a lot of opportunities. And opportunity means that there's going to be a lot more investment. And because there's a lot of opportunities also means that different people will innovate because there's competition.
Yeah.
So the customer has a lot of choices.
I wanted to ask you a question on this competition because you know how there are a lot of fintechs playing in this space, but sometimes you just feel like everybody, not everybody, but everybody in quotes is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You're like, what is setting you apart from person B?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, honestly, I would say this should probably be another episode entirely because there's a lot to be said about it.
We'll make that happen.
But I think the simple answer is that it depends on what side you're looking at it. If you sit here in Lagos, a lot of us are overbanked. You know, your middle class to upper class,
Even
you're
lower
very
class.
exposed. You know, even lower class, exactly. But because of the location, a lot of us have multiple accounts.
Yeah.
You know, so when you see a new fintech, you're like, what is new? But we always forget that the people that fall into that bracket, they're a very small fraction of the population of the country.
Yeah.
That is not the case in many parts of Nigeria. And,
Yeah.
you know, Nigeria is not only Lagos.
Yes.
Nigeria is not only
Absolutely.
the
That's
eyebrow
1 over
areas of
37
Abuja
in
and all of
Abuja,
that.
yeah.
Exactly. So when you look at it from that perspective, there's still a lot to be done. That's
Yeah.
one. The second part of it, which is why I said this is probably another episode, being included doesn't mean just having a bank account. There's savings inclusion, there's credit inclusion, there's insurance inclusion, there's a lot of things. So if I ask now, I'm sure a lot of people in this room, how many people have taken a loan in the last 1 year from a financial institution? Very few people.
Yeah.
How many people have an active investment or savings product? How many people have a mortgage?
Yeah.
So
mortgage,
inclusion
yeah.
also has levels.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are still underbanked. So there's a lot of opportunities. So different fintechs are approaching it from different angles.
Yes, yes.
So,
yes.
but because banking at the base is very similar and commoditized, so there's no way those providers will not give you access to accounts because that's the way you start.
Yes, that's base level.
They need to allow you move money. That's a given.
Yeah.
So that makes all of them look like they are the same, just
Okay.
because they all have to provide those
That
basic
one
functionality
before you now build
before you
up
now
on it.
build on top of it.
So what would we say are like the trends in the coming years? Just I know
Yeah.
we're taking some of your time, but yeah, the coming years, what would you say trend for fintech?
Yeah, I mean so as the ecosystem matures,
Yeah.
we're going to see a lot more mature products as well. So fintechs that have been
Mature
backing
product, what's mature?
mature products are like credit product, access
Okay.
to mortgage,
Okay.
asset financing, inventory financing. So you've been using this fintech app for a while. You feel like now they should be able to give me overdrafts to, or maybe loan to buy a car.
Okay.
And then at some point, some of them will start offering like mortgage, or you want to start a business, you need like 10 million. So the quality of the products gradually mature as the companies mature as well.
Okay.
So those are some of the trends.
And
that
also
we-
they can leverage on data as well to
absolutely,
build this.
absolutely, because they know
Okay.
they've been banking you for a while.
Okay, great. I think that's very insightful. Thank you, Segun. But we can see obviously that this is just the beginning for fintech in Africa. Give it another 5-10 years, like it's going to be, the sky is the starting point. That's it on today's episode of On Deck with Anchor. See you next time. Bye for now.